Get ready, because what you're about to discover in this video might completely change your perspective on Disney remakes. An adaptation that seemed promising, but did it really deliver what fans were hoping for? Disney used to treat animations as great works filled with creative pride. Today, they became a staircase. The studio now only sees these classics as a starting point for live-action remakes that guarantee a quick financial return. And this change is very evident in these new Lilo Stitch. Hold on, there are changes that actually worked out well, and there are changes where Disney really slipped up. But first, comment below, did you watch the original animation? Are you going straight to the theater without having seen anything? Or did you watch it and now you're going maybe a little too excited, more than you should be? Comment below, I want to know. Also, let me know if you're going alone or with your family, your son or daughter, because that's important. Let's get started. The new live-action Lilo Stitch arrived, trying to keep the magic of the original. The story still follows Stitch, a fugitive alien who lands on Earth and gets close to Lilo, a girl full of personality. The dynamic between the two remains charismatic, and Stitch still manages to get some good laughs. In fact, his appearance is true to the cartoon and the original voice was kept, which really helps with the emotional connection. Behind the scenes, people are saying this could be the biggest box office hit of 2025. Stitch is still one of Disney's most popular characters, and the production cost was much lower than some of Disney's other recent bets. The math is easy when the audience already knows and loves the product. This remake was made to avoid any kind of conflict. Anything that could have caused any tension was softened as much as possible. Disney doesn't want to take any risks, like what happened with Snow White, if you know what I mean. They'd rather deliver something safe, that gets the message across without touching on themes that require depth. The chosen director, Dean Fleischer-Camp, is known for his sensitivity and distinctive style. But here, it seems like he was hired just to lend prestige to the project. It feels like he boarded a train that already had its destination set. The reins were in the hands of another department. It's like when they make a Marvel movie and bring in a director, but in reality, the one calling the shots is Kevin Feige. But that's where the film starts to stumble. The changes made to the plot may seem minor, but they directly impact the essence of the characters.
No! I'm not here, drooler.
Nani, for example, loses her prominence in important scenes. Moments that used to show affection and effort between sisters are replaced by secondary characters who do more harm than good. This weakens the bond between the two and takes away some of the emotional weight of the story. It feels like they put too many people into the story and forgot about those who really mattered. And speaking of forgetting what matters, that's exactly the mistake many entrepreneurs make when trying to use artificial intelligence to make money. Let's talk about our sponsor. The Master Monetization with Artificial Intelligence Mentorship teaches you how to turn AI into a real lever for new businesses and increase your sources of income. Whether you're a store owner, content creator, or freelancer, if you want to understand how to scale your project with artificial intelligence in a practical and profitable way, this is your opportunity. If you don't have any project yet, if you're really at the beginning, starting from scratch, they will help you build up to 10 sources of income. If you already have a business up and running, they will help you apply artificial intelligence to increase your earnings. I'll leave the link in the video description and pinned in the first comment. Back to the movie, the screenwriter makes some other slip-ups. The aliens, who worked well with visual humor in the cartoon, ended up looking generic in the realistic version. The jokes were poorly placed and some completely lost their charm, like the iconic one about the planet preserved because of the mosquitoes. In the original, it was hilarious. Here, you barely have time to process the joke before the scene changes. The relationship between Lilo and Nani, although it has its good moments, feels more superficial. The famous record player scene, for example, loses its impact in this new version. The sister is distracted on her phone, completely ignoring something that in the original symbolized the bond between them. This leaves a certain emptiness. You feel like there was a lack of attention to detail. As Stitch said, "This is my family." It's small and broken, but it's still good. But here, it feels like someone tried to glue the pieces together with electrical tape. The adaptation doesn't deliver a memorable ending, and honestly, it feels like one of those endings made just to wrap things up. It doesn't move you, it doesn't surprise you. Even though the film keeps Stitch's original voice actor, Chris Sanders, who was one of the writers of the animated film, Sanders' presence adds emotional and symbolic value to the production, creates a direct connection to the original material, and gives fans a sense of continuity, but unfortunately, this isn't maintained in other areas of the movie. The actress who plays Lilo Bankawa is making her film debut. This naturally creates a sense of insecurity, especially in big films like this, but surprisingly, she delivers a convincing and promising performance. It's important to highlight here a comparison I love to make about the dynamic between Lilo and Stitch. In the original animation, it's as if it's a female version of Dennis the Menace adopting the Tasmanian devil disguised as a dog, something the remake tried to maintain but without the same spark. Here I offer a direct criticism of the replacement of memorable characters with new ones who didn't add any depth. One example is Cobra Bubbles, who in the cartoon is a mysterious agent with a twist at the end, but here is just a CIA agent without much impact. The replacement of his role with a social worker played by Tia Carrere, the original voice of Nani, is a pretty cool bit of trivia. Another curious and important detail is the criticism of the excess of characters, which dilutes the development of the main protagonists. This is symbolized by scenes like the one where Nani takes Lilo to adopt Stitch, which was removed from the remake. That scene showed affection and the intention to care, but now it's taken over by a new and irrelevant character which weakens Nani's emotional arc. The two aliens, who in the cartoon were clearly non-human even when disguised, were turned into ordinary humans through a transformation device in the live-action version. In the cartoon, the audience accepted this exaggerated logic because of the animated aesthetic itself, like a rabbit standing upright in a trench coat in a Looney Tunes episode. In live action, this solution weakens the humor and compromises the suspension of disbelief. The connection with Elvis, which in the animation was part of the emotional foundation of the story, appears here as a decorative element, so to speak, thrown into the script without weight or purpose. The connection was lost. The film's pacing presents another problem. There are no pauses, no breathing room. The story rushes forward without leaving space for reflection. The relationships between the characters seem to be put together on autopilot just to fulfill the script's requirements. The film's length also deserves attention. While the animated version is just over an hour and 20 minutes and is efficient in both timing and pacing, the live action stretches to an hour and 40 and seems to drag. This fact reinforces the idea that the remake tries to fill space without the same emotional and narrative agility as the original. That's a fundamental difference you can feel. The Hawaiian setting in the animation was a spectacle in itself. The watercolors brought every corner to life, but in the live action, that charm disappeared. The visual choice now is that washed out palette, kind of soulless, which has become the norm in recent Disney films. What they did was strip the story of its substance and leave only what can be exploited with, if you know what I mean. They kept only family, cuteness, partnership, and threw out everything else. Everything suggests that Lilo, Stitch was a test. If it works, the model will be repeated. Cheaper live actions with emotional appeal but without boldness. The idea is to turn remakes into an efficient production line. If this movie fills theaters, which I believe it will, and it might even end up being the biggest box office hit of the year, the trend will be to see more classic animations getting new versions with the same formula. Controlled production, lower costs, guaranteed sales, but without that spark that truly moved us. In the end, the question remains, why mess so much with something that already worked so well? Wouldn't it be better to have a continuation of the animation, for example? Or a live action, but with a different story? Why tell the same story, only adapted and usually adapted for the worse? Remakes need to justify their existence, And this one doesn't, or if it does, it's only through money. If the idea was to update it, it lacked heart. If it was to pay tribute, it lacked respect for the details. The movie isn't a disaster. Far from it, it's fun, but it's far from memorable. Get your record players ready, because our Hawaiian journey has come to an end. If this review made you feel more emotion than Stitch learning to play the ukulele, don't forget to leave that, like that could even make E.T. Dance the hula. Subscribe for more cinematic adventures and leave a comment with your thoughts, or Agent Cobra Bubbles might show up at your door with questions. And remember, Ohana means family, and family supports each other. So you know what to do, right? Don't forget to leave your questions so we can keep the conversation going, okay? See you in the next review. See you soon.